Hola, buenas tardes. Today we're going to be talking about comparisons or comparaciones in español. Okay, so what is a comparison? It is, so we are specifically talking about comparisons of inequality, and those are used to show that there is an unequal relationship between two items or things. So, for example, Miguel is taller than Sarah, so there's an inequality of height. Sarah is more artistic than Miguel. Inequality in skill. Bookshelf is bigger than the bedside table. Okay, so anytime that you would have an ER at the end of a word, that's going to show a comparison. Younger, taller, bigger, smaller, etc. Okay, so the way that we do this in Spanish, because in Spanish there's no equivalent to the ER ending that we have in English, like bigger, smaller. Okay, those words don't exist. So what we have to do is convey that same idea, and we'll use like a three-word combination. So we are going to use either más que statements, more than statements, or less than statements. So Sarah is more artistic than Miguel, or Miguel is less artistic than Sarah. Those both state the same idea. So there's going to be more than one way to say most of these comparisons. But the important thing is going to be that that the idea is expressed, and two, that everything matches grammatically. Okay, so let's take a look at our more than statements. Okay, so we're going to use más and then whatever we're comparing, que. Okay, so we would have either an adjective or noun or even an adverb in there, something that describes how well something is done. So for example, Sara es más artística que Miguel. So Sarah is more artistic than. And that's going to line up because we don't have like an artisticer word in English, so that kind of lines up. Sara corre más rápido que Miguel. Sarah runs faster than Miguel, so more fast than. Sara tiene más libros que Miguel. Sarah has more books than Miguel. Miguel's getting the short end of the stick on this one. Okay, so the number and gender of an adjective needs to match the number and gender of the subject. So in this example here, since Sara is feminine and singular, we would use artística. If we were talking about Sara and Lola, so Sara y Lola we would use Sara y Lola son más artísticas que Miguel. Miguel doesn't really have anything to do with the rest of our sentence. He's just here for extra detail. So our adjective doesn't need to match him. It needs to match the subject. Okay. So let's do a couple of practice ones. We'll do those together. So bigger than. So it's gonna look like more big than. And that's really all it is. It's just instead of bigger than, it's more big. Okay, so más grande que. Okay, more important than. Más importante que. More interesting than. Más interesante que. Okay, so hit pause and then do this next 7 and then hit play and see how well you did. All right. Okay, number 4, smaller than. Más pequeño que. Number 5, taller than. Más alto que. Shorter than, and I think I went with height on this one, más bajo que. Prettier than, más bonito que. Uglier than, más feo que. More serious than, más serio que. And funnier than, más gracioso que. Okay, and I just went with the masculine on all of these because that was easier. Grande, importante, interesante, those don't have to match in gender, just in number. But we see the idea, more something than. Okay, so our más que statements, go ahead and write these. We're going to write these in español. So the green rug is bigger than the blue rug. So you're going to word it, the rug green is more big than the rug blue. Okay? So I'll give you just a second to write that. Or you can hit pause and then hit play when you're done. La alfombra verde es más grande que la alfombra azul. It's more big than. Okay, your next one. The white curtains are shorter than the gray curtains. And we would use corto here because curtains are describing in length. They're not height. Okay, so shorter needs to match curtains in number and in gender. So curtains are feminine, so we're going to use bajas, or cortas, sorry, cortas. So hit pause, then write it, then hit play. All right, so you should have las cortinas blancas son más cortas que las cortinas grises. And we're using ser on all of these because we're talking about a description. Make sure that you have son here and not s because cortinas are plural. All right, number 3, the Dali painting is more important than my painting. So we're going to have like the painting of Dali because that's showing possession. Okay, so that would be el cuadro de Dali es más importante que mi cuadro. Oh, here's my kitty. All right, number 4, I am shorter than my brother. So I would use bajo here because we are describing height. Hi, kitty. So, soy más bajo, or I would say más baja. Soy más baja que mi hermano. Okay, I am more short than my brother. All right, come here, kitten. This is Ed. He's a pain in the hiney, but he's so sweet. Okay, so now we have one more, sorry. Carlos is taller than Sofia. Carlos es más alto que Sofia. So we don't need to match our adjective to Sofia. She doesn't really have anything to do with this. We're matching it to Carlos. Carlos es más alto que Sofia. Okay, now let's look at less than. So we're going to use menos and then our adjective or noun que. And so these are just the same statements from before, but I just flip-flopped them because menos que and más que statements are just opposites. Okay, so Miguel es menos artístico que Sara. He is less artistic than Sara. Miguel corre menos rápido que Sara. Miguel runs less quickly than Sarah. Miguel tiene menos libros que Sara. Miguel has fewer books than Sarah. And again, your number and the adjective, like artístico, needs to match the number and gender of the subject. So here we're comparing Miguel. So Sara is just the extra detail here. Menos que statements are not used nearly as frequently as más que. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to use a más que statement, if at all possible. It's just easier. Okay, so let's do these. These are the same ones as before. So now you're just going to have, instead of más, you're going to have menos. So write them out, then hit pause, and then check your answers. All right, number 1, menos grande que. Number 2, menos importante que. Number 3, less interesting, menos interesante que. Number 4, menos pequeño que. Number 5, menos alto que. Number 6, menos bajo que. Number 7, menos bonito que. Number 8, menos feo que. Number 9, menos serio que. And number 10, menos cómico or menos gracioso que. With these, like I said, I'm not going to use these most of the time. So like if I want to say less big than, that's implying smaller than. So I would say más pequeño que. Most of the time, I'm going to use the más que statements. The exception would be like here, menos importante is less important than, because there isn't really an opposite of important. Like even with interesting, I would say más aburrido que is more boring than. So it is good to know how to do these and what this represents. Like I said, you're not going to use them terribly frequently. Okay, so like I was just saying, when an adjective or an adverb has an opposite, there are actually 4 ways to write that equality statement. So Carla is shorter than Esteban. I can say Carla is more short than Esteban. I can say Carla is less tall than Esteban. And then I can flip-flop it. I can say Carlos is more tall than, let me just go through that because it gets a little wordy. So I can say Carla es más baja que Esteban. She is more short than. I can say Carla es menos alta que. I can say she's less tall than. And then I can flip-flop it. And I can say Esteban es más alto que Carla. He's more tall than she is. Or I can say Esteban es menos bajo que Carla. Esteban is less short than Carla. All 4 of those statements express the exact same idea. Okay? Those all indicate that Carla, I don't know why I keep calling her Carlos, Carla is shorter than Esteban. Okay? So let's just do one of these where we write it 4 ways. So the bookshelf is bigger than the nightstand, or the night table. So you're going to say the bookshelf is more big than, the bookshelf is less small than, the nightstand is more small than, and the nightstand is less big than. Okay? So go ahead and hit pause and then write that 4 ways. Okay, number 1, el estante es más grande que la mesita. The bookshelf is more big than the night table. This is what I would say 9 times out of 10. You can also say el estante es menos pequeño que la mesita. Another cat's making noise. You could also say la mesita es menos grande que el estante. The night table is less big than the bookshelf. Or la mesita es más pequeña que el estante. La mesita, the night table, is smaller than the bookshelf. Like I said, either option A or option B are going to be the ones that I use more often than not. Okay, so just like everything in Spanish, there's of course going to be some irregulars. So the first one, let me move my little, there we go, is joven. So joven means young, and I think these might be out of order on your notes, so I apologize. Joven means young, but we don't ever say like más joven que. Instead, we're going to say menor que for younger than. Okay? Because menor already means younger, and so then that que just means than, menor que. Viejo, again, we're not going to say más viejo que, more old than, because we already have this word for older, mayor. Okay, like mi hermano mayor, my older brother. So then I would just say like mi hermano es mayor que yo. My brother is older than I am. Okay? So joven and viejo, we don't use the más, that que. Más viejo, más joven que. We say mayor que and menor que. Same thing with bueno and malo. So bueno is good. So we're not going to say more good than, we're going to say better than. And we already have a word for better, which is mejor. Okay? So mejor que is better than, and malo is bad, but then peor is worse. So then we already have that worse phrase or that worse word, so we can say peor que. Like el bolígrafo amarillo es peor que el bolígrafo rosado. The yellow pen is worse than the pink pen. Okay, let's try some practice with these, and I have them written both, or I want you to write them 2 ways. So you're going to say, my brother is older than me, and I am younger than my brother. Okay, Felipe is younger than his cousin, and his cousin is older than Felipe. Okay, so you're going to write it both ways. Since we have those opposites, we can practice with the both ways. All right, so hit pause and then write out we'll do one together. So before you hit pause. All right, so my brother is older than me. Mi hermano es mayor que yo. Okay, and then yo soy menor que mi hermano. My brother's older than I am younger than my brother. That's the same idea. And I don't have a preference for which way you write this, as long as your idea and your grammar are correct. That's really all I care about. Let's do one more together. Felipe is younger than his cousin. Felipe es menor que su primo. And then the other way, su primo es mayor que Felipe. His cousin is older than him. Do the next 2 by yourself, and then hit play when you're done. Number 3, mi postre es mejor que tu plato principal. My dessert is better than your main dish. Tu plato principal es peor que mi postre. Your main dish is worse than my dessert. Those are the same idea. Salt is worse than sugar. La sal es peor que el azúcar. And then the other way, el azúcar es mejor que la sal. The sugar is better than the salt. Same idea. Okay. On the next few slides, there are some pictures of celebrities, and I want you to write a comparison for, I think there's several slides, but you can pick which ones you want to do. I just want you to write 4 comparisons and then be ready to show them. So I have Jimmy Fallon and Justin Timberlake. I have Salvador Perez and his son Johan. I have Shakira and her boyfriend Gerard and their son Milan. So you can make any sort of comparison between these 3. I have Per Mertesacker, that's his name right here, and Santi Cazorla. These are former soccer players, and I just like this picture. It makes me laugh because he's so much taller than Santi is. I have Ariana Grande and Beyonce. I've got Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas, former Royals players. Morgan Freeman, Sean Connery. Brooks, Thomas Rhett. and Michael Jordan and LeBron, and I think there's a couple others. Let me know if you have questions. Have a wonderful day. Adios.